Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about why the medical community or the mainstream medical community does not recognize multiple chemical sensitivity. Now, there are several reasons why, and I'm surprised a lot of people hasn't figured it out. They're like, I talk to people and they're like, oh my God, I got all this stuff wrong, and they can't figure it out. But you gotta look at it from our standpoint, and this is the cold hard truth. When it comes to going to a doctor, I'm talking about mainstream, I'm not talking about functional medicine or any of that. When you go to a doctor, okay, you go to a pulmonologist, they look for something wrong respiratory wise. You go to ENT, he looks for something wrong with ear, nose, and throat, nasal septum, etc., etc. You go to a neurologist, they look at your brain, they do a CT, MRI, they're looking for things that's structurally wrong. And with MCS, I wouldn't say 99% of the time, but I'd say 90% of the time, structurally everything checks out. And with me, I just so happen to have physical evidence of my MCS, because every time I have a flare-up, I get, bronchitis, pneumonia. I get mine's inflammatory, so it's an inflammatory reaction to things that I'm around. And that's why a lot of my doctors, my mainstream doctors, is kind of fascinated, because, one of the earliest experiences I had before I got into functional medicine was I had them bring a little bleach in. It was, they thought I had vocal cord dysfunction. I know that was a pile of crap. And they brought a little bleach in, and I ended up having a terrible reaction, violently coughing, it was pretty much, thought I was going to have to go on all fours, and I asked them, I said, what is this? And they're like, we don't know, That's the number one reason. They're looking for things structurally wrong. If you have a rash, or, you're around polyester, or you're around, something that sets this off, they tell you take antihistamine, but it's not 99% of the time, it's not it's not an IgE allergy, it's a sensitivity. It's two different things. Also, here's the number two reason why it's not recognized in the medical or the mainstream medical community. Because it is a hypersensitivity, and it's not necessarily a structural issue. It can become a structural issue from the hypersensitivity, but I'm off track a little bit, but let's go back to number two. If they come forward and they said mold or mycotoxins is the cause of this person's Alzheimer's, or mold or mycotoxins is the cause of this person's dementia, or sugar is this the cause of, it's the cause of this person's diabetes. You look overseas, you go to these tribal towns, not being racist at all, but you take a little Chinese town, they drink all herbal tea, and they don't have cane sugar, and they're eating graviola fruit, and they're living to be 95, 100 years old. They're doing something right. They're eating 3 or 4 safe foods a day. They're not taking a lot of calories in. They're not eating nothing processed. But back to the subject, if you had doctors on board saying sugar was the cause of this, or diabetes at 40, because people over here, they're dropping over 40 years old from cancer, 45 years old. It's what we're eating, what we're around, chemicals, all that stuff. And I want to educate people, but back to subject. If you had doctors acknowledging how bad mycotoxins is, or mold, if you had doctors acknowledging how bad buildings are, or manufactured housing, the glues and the formaldehydes and all that stuff, if you had doctors acknowledging how bad medications are, I'm not talking about all medications, I'm just saying, most medications. If you had doctors on board with all this, it would bankrupt the country. It would overnight. Can you imagine the lawsuits and the propaganda? Can you imagine the payouts for all these medical conditions? Somebody worked in, a moldy building, they wouldn't get fixed, or a moldy apartment for 10 years, and they develop Alzheimer's, or the aspartame, or I'm just using these examples. I'm not saying that that's the cause. I'm just saying someone worked in a Clorox plant for 5 years, and they developed 4, 5, 6 different cancers. Can you imagine the payout? And a lot of these employers, they figured out the honest way of lying. When they hire somebody, they want to get rid of them in 2 or 3 years. And the reason why is they want to wash your hands clean. That way, if you get cancer or you get some kind of ailment 4 or 5 years down the road, their hands is washed clean. You won't even think about the acid baths you worked in, or you won't think about the processed grease you worked in, or it's usually everything's got an explanation. Your genetic predisposal, it's going to add to that, but I got a good example. It's like my aunt. She developed severe allergies. She's 70-some years old. She moved in a home with mold. Well, that's probably the reason why. I got a cousin. She got diabetes in her 40s. She quit eating sugar. It got better. She started, she got to where she felt normal. Her inflammation went down. Her feet quit swelling. All that stuff. She started getting better basically after just a short amount of time, 5, 6 months. Her diabetes is under control. And the doctor told her, said, you can go back to, open your diet back up, and her diabetes, it come back, with a vengeance. So, if, it's money to be made in chemicals. It's money to be made, in work, and just everything that everybody encounters on a daily basis, the formaldehyde in your clothes, these companies, they made a killing off Clorox wipes and Lysol during this COVID-19 pandemic, and there's so many better solutions, to being sanitary. You got hydroperoxide, you got vinegar, you got so many things that's, better and safer, cheaper, but it's not money to be made in, natural remedies. So, if doctors was to acknowledge it, mainstream, the country would go bankrupt. that is where the money, and a lot of this stuff that comes from China, it's not regulated, what they put it together with. It comes here in the U.S., your house is full of products from China or whatever. And I'm not being racist. It's not a racist video. I love all nationalities. But, you know, you got a sweatshop company that's focused on money, and let's say, you know, we're buying it, you know, it's keeping the economy going, but if it was acknowledged, it bankrupt the country, and there's only maybe 8,000 of us on the MCS website. You think the world is going to change for 8,000 people when the other, you know, 7 billion or 8 billion people is doing okay? I mean, it's still hurting them, but they don't know it's hurting them. They just don't know how to direct. With us, we know how to direct. But I want to make that video. God bless y'all. Peace. And say a prayer for me. Need all the prayers I can get. That's the best thing. But it's not pity party. It's not any of that. It's just facts. Peace.